Shabooty.
Welcome to Pop Cultivation, a weekly podcast where I sit down and talk with the interesting people in my life. I'm really excited for this episode. It's hard to say who my favorite band is. I'm constantly bouncing all around, listening to all different genres of music. But honestly, I guess if you hold a gun to my head and forced me to decide, I'd have to say Coheed and Cambria. I say that because of the amount of influence they've had on me being a musician and just being creative in general. This is really cool because today's guest is Travis Stever, the guitarist of Coheed and Cambria. I reached out to him a couple months ago and sent him a little sample work of this show, and he agreed to be a guest. And even though Coheed is on their downtime right now, this guy he's juggling a lot in life, which includes a newborn baby, filling in to work at his wife's bakery, and even working on his solo project, Davenport Cabinet, which we'll hear a lot about in this episode. But even though he's that busy, Travis was awesome enough to sit down with me for an hour and hang out. I even asked him during the interview how come he's such a cool dude. I mean, this was a real treat for me, and I hope it becomes a real treat for you as well. Coheed, as a band, meant, a lot to me growing up. I sort of didn't want to fanboy out during this interview. I kind of am right now, but more than most bands, I remember the feeling of downloading like Delirium Trigger for the first time and listening to it over and over until I got my dad to buy me Second Stage Turbine Blade. There was really something mysterious about this band and about that album, and I became instantly obsessed. I remember seeing them open up for Thrice and Thursday at Roseland Ballroom, and then the next year seeing them headline Roseland Ballroom. I remember the girl I dated in high school surprised me one year for my birthday with tickets to see them play that day on my birthday in New York City. And also a surprise performance that I didn't even know that was going to happen at the NAMM show 3 years ago. Or when they played their first album, Second Stage Turbine Blade, from beginning to end at Starland Ballroom in South Jersey. There's probably a ton other shows that I can list right now that I've been to of theirs. I could just keep going on and on. I mean, to be honest with you, it's probably the band I've seen most live in concert. And now today, I get to sit down with the guitarist from this band. I get a lot of cool opportunities with this show, and it's definitely allowed me to make friends with people that I looked up to early in life. So this is going to be a really good episode. I think you're going to like it. So let's get to this. I'm going to call this episode Influencer. This is Travis Stever. Oh, and by the way, we recorded this live from Eat Sweet Bakery in Warwick, New York. So check it out.
Hey, this is Giancarlo's grandmother. I just wanted to remind you when you're done listening to this episode to write a review on iTunes. And now, Pop Cultivation with Giancarlo Dittamo. Dittamo, John.
So what's your last name? Where is it?
Dittamo.
What's your first name again?
Giancarlo.
Giancarlo. Say the last name again.
Dittamo.
Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting.
So in just your name on Facebook is just Dittamo, right?
No.
Or it is Giancarlo.
It's Giancarlo.
I get confused, man.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
Giancarlo is easy to remember. We had a bass player back when we were in high school. His name was John Carlio. So
Really? I never heard that way of saying it. I get Juan Carlos a lot and stuff. Yeah.
Giancarlo. Cool.
Anyway, we're here with Travis Stever.
Hi. How you guys doing? Or is it filmed or not?
So, what I do is I make like a little preview.
Okay.
Like in that, like, gets people to just listen to like the audio part.
Oh, right on.
It's technically a podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm trying to make it into something a little bit more.
Spontaneous, baby.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry,
So
I
shoot.
let you down.
No, you
on
didn't.
that.
You didn't.
You're waiting
You
for the makeup artist to come in.
No makeup artist. I really liked actually the one that you sent with the telescope
Yeah,
the guy
yeah.
with the
That guy's
telescope?
right around the corner.
I gotta go
if you ever
peep
need
that,
to go
man.
need
I
to
gotta
go over
peep
there.
that.
Yeah.
That was really awesome, and a couple other ones you had were really interesting. Man.
Really? Thank
Yeah.
you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I got to peep the rest of them. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I had some interesting people on so far.
Hell yeah.
I had this kid on a couple weeks ago. He's a juggler.
Nice.
He just got in Circus Soleil. So it's like
Sweet.
weird little like niche kind of things like
A
that.
juggler. I've
Yeah.
never met a juggler before.
Really? This kid's like a professional juggler, like straight up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's some deep shit to get into, man. Juggling.
Right?
Yeah. I juggle things in my time. Oh, customer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I won't break it.
I hope he doesn't
Jess will be fine.
shoplift a cookie.
You know
just
what? He
kidding.
can't get around there.
Yeah.
He can't get around. Well, he could get around there, but I'd see him get around there. I'd go get him. Hold on one second.
Do you want to take it and we can come right back? Yeah, do it. Let's do it. Let's
oh,
do
no,
it.
no. Jess is here.
All
We
right.
got it. Sorry.
Yes. Yay, Jess.
Yay, Jess.
So, do you want to like introduce yourself? Like what you do?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Travis Stever. Most known for playing guitar for Coheed and Cambria. I also play guitar and sing in a band called Davenport Cabinet, a project that was a lone venture before, but now is a full band, and we'll get into that more. And I also am presently working here at my wife's shop, Eat Sweet, in Warwick, New York. So I could put that on my resume.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
So like why Warwick and stuff? Like what got you into the like
we live in Warwick.
Yeah.
My wife and I live right here in Warwick. We love the town. We've been here for this summer will be 8 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we moved to Warwick from Brooklyn. We were living in Bushwick before that. She lived in Manhattan before that. Me being on the road so much with Coheed, I would stay in Manhattan with her a lot, but I never called really anywhere a home for the first few years of touring. It was more living out of a suitcase. But then we called Brooklyn home for a year, and then we decided that we wanted to come up here. I mean, I grew up in Rockland County and in Bergen County, and my father actually moved from Rockland up here. He was in New Windsor for a while, and it was just kind of sold on the area. I just loved it, specifically the town of Warwick. I mean, it's got a really cool vibe. There's a lot of cool music going on now. There's a lot of places that have opened that have music, and so
like Bruce and his telescope?
Bruce and his telescope, really, that was intriguing, man. I want to go check that out.
That's a church. I don't know if you noticed.
I know.
Yeah.
I saw the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
And it's weird because you walk in and it's like his wife's on the couch and she's just like, hey, and it's
Yeah.
one big room.
That's
and that's
amazing,
it. And you're like,
man.
whoa, okay.
that seems like something I'd really like to
Yeah.
go experience. Does he have people come in? And
He doesn't care. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
As long as you get your car up the hill.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can, then you're
I
there.
gotta beep it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how far he is from our house. I mean, what road is that on again?
I don't know. Do you know it's like a part of the town? It was called like Edenville.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's right there. Yeah.
I think that's a little further up that way.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd love to go check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we just fell in love with this town. We were looking at places all over the place. We looked at some places in Rockland, and we looked at, obviously, what we could afford, and we just put everything we could together to put down on a house up here and be able to,
I've been coming up here since I was like a little kid. My friend lived over here.
Yeah, funny enough, I had some friends that lived here
Really?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's cool. So you've been familiar with this area your
He
whole
lived
life.
on the Circle. Like it was. Do you know about that? It's like a street. It's called the Circle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've
always thought that was
actually driven
interesting.
down it, but I don't have any history with it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, I came up here a couple of times. In my late teens, early 20s, and I think that I remember one friend being like, "Don't you remember we drank 40s in the Burger King parking lot?" And I'm just like, I drive past there now, and 35-year-old man, I'm like, yeah, the 21-year-old, 22-year-old, which is still a little old to be drinking a 40 in a Burger King parking lot. You're of age,
Yeah.
you could be in a bar, but that was probably me being cheap. But yeah, I mean, and I hung out at a couple of people's houses up here, and a friend of mine actually for years was dating, and now we've become good friends since then. But the girl who owns the one of the owners of the Tuscan Cafe over there,
Okay, I know that. I know
Davenport
about
Cabinet.
that.
Yeah, we did a show over there, and they're great over there. It's really cool, being here at Eat Sweet and just being able to walk around. Right down the street here, the place called Conscious Fork just opened, and it's like this vegetarian vegan they got a little of everything, but it's just like really good health conscious food. And I think Warwick is just turned into a place that has everything you need.
Yeah. I told my mom I was coming up here.
And a fucking drive-in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the drive-in. Yeah.
And I'm right down the street from the drive-in, really. So it's like, I love that. Yeah. So, excuse my mouth too. If I don't know if that mattered, I didn't.
Oh no, please. Yeah.
Sometimes I get a little excited.
It's not like a Christian show.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
That's okay if it was.
Listen,
right.
John, we haven't gotten fully acquainted. I didn't know if maybe you were peddling Bibles.
Yeah.
You never know, man.
Yeah. Actually, my friend, he fixed your dad's washing machine once.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
And he got your guitar picks out of it.
That's amazing. Yeah, my dad. Did he give him a discount? Because my dad probably gave him the guitar picks for some kind of trade-off. You know what's so funny about that? I remember him telling me about that. My dad is awesome. He's a musician too. He was a songwriter. I grew up.
So is my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know how that is. Like you grow up around them creating music. Yeah. So sort of forced into it, but in a good way.
You didn't have to do it, but
no. I mean, he used to love me to pick up guitars as a kid, and for a while there, I just wanted nothing to do with them. Probably between about 6 years old, 7 years old, I just kind of like, oh, never mind that, till about 10 or 11. About 11 was probably when I really started to try with the guitar. I mean, I can remember a specific point where it was like, okay, these guitars are all around me. I watched the Guns N' Roses Patience video, and it was on MTV, and I must have been, probably 11, and all the acoustic guitars were around me because that's what my father primarily played. He's a really great finger picker and always writing songs on acoustics, and they were all around me, and I was like, oh, look, Guns N' Roses are using the guitars that he has. So I started playing the acoustics, and then I was like, now I want electric, and then boom, I'm in that world, and just, you're sucked in, I was sucked in from a younger age still, though, too. Like, when I started getting my own records, I would get, I remember my first record that I ever bought myself was the Somewhere in Time. And, and then I started to get into the classic rock kind of stuff and then branched off to punk, through family and friends and stuff like that. Just normally the way most kids would. But, I mean, always what was there was what my father kind of had put in my brain. Being an only child, I got stepbrothers.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too.
Well, you understand that side of it. I mean, I got stepbrothers and stepsisters that came in my life later.
Yeah,
and they brought like the punk aspects and
that's cool.
And stuff like that. And I and so did a lot of friends. Friends that I'm still hang out with all the time, that I'm in bands with, like Claudio. I mean, I got a lot of amazing music through hanging out with him. I got into a lot of stuff. So it's like, as an only child, like you reach for the things that you're finding yourself, but a lot of other people, they have the siblings and this and that, and that didn't come till later. So as an early age, a lot of things came from my parents, whether it be the pop shit that my mom's listened to in the car. I mean, some of those songs, like foreigner songs and stuff like that were on the radio as a little kid. I mean, they just hold this nostalgic. It's a nostalgic gold mine for me, hearing some of the 80s jams still, just through hearing those on the radio, and even like the pop hits. I mean, a good Madonna record will be played in my house still frequently. It could be Leonard Cohen, and then next is Madonna. That's just how it is, and I have a huge record collection. And so, I mean, my mom was a musician too. I should add that tidbit. She met my father through an off-Broadway showing of Jesus Christ Superstar that they actually toured a little with, and they connected on that. Obviously, those two didn't belong, for the long haul, but they made me out of it. And so, the music thing was just always there. And where we started with this with my dad is, funny enough, is because he's like, involved in music still and this and that. He's very proud of that whole thing. So, I mean, you could have somebody fixing the cable, you could have somebody fixing the washing machine, or he could be at a job. I'll be working with him. Like, he does pool, he has his own pool business, and, I'll be working with him either putting a liner in a pool or putting up a wall or even just like, he'll have me go vacuum a pool, and, I'll still do that, go with him for a day. And then it's just like if I'm standing there, a customer comes out, hey, you ever hear of Coheed and Cambria? You ever hear anything that I'm a part of, like band-wise? And it's like, oh, cut this shit, stop it, And I know he's proud, but it's like, but yeah, if somebody's coming to fix the cable, you hear of them, maybe I got something for you, and then, but like a little nudge, maybe you can just give me a discount on this if I give you a guitar pick or two. But yeah, that was long-winded.
Yeah, no,
sorry.
You mentioned like you're into like pop music and stuff like that, and then like also I guess like a classic rock kind of.
Oh, of course.
Piece.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to look at my record collection, you would just and that goes for a majority of the people that I hang out with and surround myself with in life, and we all just have a really eclectic love, for music. Like it's just there's no boundary.
Yeah.
I'm not as like into per se jazz as like Zach Cooper from Coheed, the bass player. I mean, they had that song pop game for a little while that a lot of people were playing on their cell phones, and you could guess the song in 2 seconds. And this and
I
that.
haven't heard about that.
And I would always play Zach in that, and other people that are really like fluent
music
with their knowledge of music.
People,
and Zach would always kick my ass with the jazz. I'm not going to be able to. I do love some jazz that I have become familiar with through other people. But I mean, I didn't really have that in my upbringing. The whole, I didn't, from either side, they weren't listening to like avant-garde, like crazy off the wall jazz. My father-in-law, when I did meet my wife, though, he lives in New Orleans. So
okay, so
they're right there. That's all I got to say is that I've been to Jazz Fest a couple of times. So later in life, that came in from his end. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of different stuff.
So I guess does that like influence like Coheed kind of has that pop sound, and then it also has that progressive sound and stuff like that.
It's all over the place because that's the way it is. I mean, and I know for Claudio as a songwriter, I mean, he's just the type of person that listens to everything. He's one of those people, just like I am. So whatever it is, he's going to come up with something like that. That's like a little more left field, not left field, but not exactly what you'd expect from just any ordinary rock band. And anything that we do as individuals is like that. You know what I mean? Anytime that I've ever created something, if I have a guitar riff and he's excited about it, and I expect that it's going to go one way, that's the cool thing about collaborating is he'll probably take it a completely different way than I thought, like whether it be what he plays over that riff and I'd like to think that a lot of the time I've done that for him, like, with a majority of the songs, like even the early days of Coheed, like in, Second Stage and In Keeping Secrets, like it was just kind of like, all right, here's this song and what can I add to this? And it's like a different perspective, different melody. Than most people would expect, but it works. And I think that's with every instrument in the band, Josh or, Mike before, now Zach. I mean, like in Zach, he just fits in perfectly because he's the same mind, like it's just not what can I add that's different. It's not like that. It's just it already is. Whatever he's going to come up with is already going to be, its own spice, different than what most would create. And that's what the beauty of the Coheed is.
Now, with the songwriting like processes and stuff like that, obviously you have a Davenport Cabinet, right?
Yeah,
and like obviously that's more your baby right there.
That is my baby, and that was I could,
with that.
I can get into that. I mean,
what's the difference between each band, really?
I mean, everybody has their hand in in Coheed and working on things. But yes, Claudio is the primary songwriter, the main songwriter. So it's like, I mean, I've been lucky enough to, at certain times, like I'll have a riff or the, the skeleton of guitar riffs, and he'll be like, I really like that stuff, and we'll organize it and it'll become a song, I think that the key thing is as a band, usually there's a person that's, has that role, and that's definitely Claudio. And it's just always been an honor when he's just like, oh, I'm really digging what you wrote there, so let's turn it into something, And there's examples of that on a few of the albums, like on Afterman, more on Dissension, like Iron Fist and Away We Go, and and whatchamacallit, Dark Side of Me. They were songs where, I had these initial riffs and he really liked them, and we all turned them into songs. But your everyday usual kind of thing that'll happen is Claudio will, sometimes have a full song, with, lyrics already written, and it's always cool when there's a vocal melody already there, because I know what I'm going to work around guitar-wise, We've done it very organically too, where we're all been in a room, and that might happen more in the future. Who knows? I mean, it just depends on the song too. Claudio just might have 7 songs. He might be just on a roll and have 7 songs. They're incredible, and it's just we got to turn this into stuff, and that doesn't take away from what Josh being back. I mean, he has an incredible hand in what happens with the tunes, just with the groove that he puts to them, you know. And the same goes with Zach adding lower end. I mean, it's just there's no what's the right word I'm looking for? There's no. I'm sorry. Maybe can you edit that? Can you edit brain farts?
No, it's good.
All right, like
brain farts.
Brain farts can be good. Well, honestly, all I was trying to say is there's no way, to say somebody is less important or anything like that, because that wouldn't be the case.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, Claude, it's coming, especially conceptually, lyrically, when it comes to Coheed, everybody knows what mind that's coming from, and wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, people love that. When you take something like Davenport Cabinet, it was a lone venture originally, and it was just something that I would do at home, and it was more, and it still is therapeutic, don't get me wrong, but it was more just straight up music therapy back in the day, and I released a record like that. But then my cousin, his name's Tyler Close, and he actually was, a lone performer for a while there, singer-songwriter, and he had opened up for Railroad Earth and some of those kind of bands. And then he got into a band called Breathing Walls, and they had kind of just started moving and getting a name in the New Jersey, more Vernon and Sussex County area.
Okay.
And it kind of, that kind of trickled out, but they made some great music before. But I guess about 3-4 years ago, we started writing songs together, and I had Davenport Cabinet already. And these songs just started to become really, he's a great songwriter. He's an, incredible singer and guitar player. So, I just kind of said, you know what, let's do this in this project. And the songs that started to come about, originally I had a friend named Rory Hohenberger who was playing the drums, on the songs that I didn't play drums on. But really that's what it was just all over the place. And, and I'd play, bass on a lot of stuff, and then, Tyler and I started writing these songs, and it stayed that way, that it was just the two of us and Rory playing sometimes. But then we wanted to take it live. And so, we released the record Our Machine, which a lot of people really enjoyed. And we wanted to go play some live shows. And so we put together kind of a live thing. And our friend Tom Farkas, who's been in a band called Nolan Gate for years, and they've played, shows with a lot of bands. Out of new bands, I mean, they played shows with that band Kylesa, and so they're more of a metal band. But they basically have been playing for years, and they actually they played with Coheed, Nolan Gate, at one point. They played at the House of Blues over in Atlantic City. So I've been friends with him for years. He's a great bass player, and so what we did was combine forces. I just said, you played bass on a song on Our Machine. It worked out great. Let's just start, working this into live. And in comes Michael Hickey, who's a drummer from Warwick here, a local drummer. He's in a lot of different music projects around here. He's a music teacher, but he's pretty well known for how great of a drummer he is. So I'd seen him play a couple of times. He had a band called Pictures in Braille that had a very, their own sound, but I could kind of relate them to, I don't know if you ever heard Minus the Bear. And, they had a lot of cool sounds going on. And so I had seen him play in a couple of different bands, and so I really was like, if we're going to do a live thing, Rory was a full-time teacher, and he actually lives in LA now, and so I was like, let's try it out and get Mike Hickey. And so so we did a couple of shows, and all of a sudden we just started writing music together, you know. And Tyler and I were working on so many ideas. So we released an EP called Risks and Magic. I don't know, probably in the fall, and people really enjoyed it. So we went out and did a bunch more shows, and I don't know, man. I've been home for a while, and we've been just working on music consistently with everybody involved. You know, like kind of like what I said before, like where everybody's kind of become important in it. You know what I mean? Like, Tyler has these great song ideas. Even Mike, the drummer, and Tom's just laying down these incredible bass lines, and and all the song ideas that I had going on for a while. I just picking the best ones, and so we got like 10 or 11 songs.
Mm-hmm. And you're the singer, which is different, right?
Well, Tyler's the singer too.
Okay,
it's the two of us. I mean, but he's going to sing a lot more on this record. He's just got this like incredible voice.
He's in what song is it? Simple Worlds.
Simple Worlds.
He's the second voice on that verse.
He is the first verse, and then the female voice is my other cousin.
Oh, okay.
Laura.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
That's a female, actually.
Okay.
So I sing on that as well, but I'm just doing like the harmonies on the choruses and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But he's the first voice that. Hold on. Excuse me. One of you guys dropped a. I would get up and get it, but I'm in the middle of this. Awesome.
They don't want to lose that. That's
Have a great day.
It looks like an expensive scarf.
Yes. Yeah, that did look expensive. Maybe I should have gone up and get it.
Yeah.
Just taken it. So anyway, I wouldn't do that, folks. But so anyway, Tyler has this like really incredible voice. Sometimes people, think that we sound alike, and we do at times. But he's got like everybody always has their own kind of flavor, if you will, and his voice is just like he's just got the possibilities, endless possibilities of where he can go with his voice,
Yeah.
And for me personally, I've been really trying to hone in on making it. I mean, in the past, I'm being such a big fan of like spontaneity and just like I'm just going to throw down whatever and throw it out there. That's great and all, but I used to just do like a take of vocals and that's it and blah blah blah. Like I said, it was very therapeutic. You could have me just like just going for it. But now I'm like, you know what? I care about the project so much, and it's like really become something cool that I've centered in on making sure that whatever I write vocally or lyrically, that I'm just really happy with. And the same goes with Tyler, and he's, like I said, he's going to be singing on it a lot more. Everybody's had their hand. I mean, it's like a great lineup, between Tom, Tyler, Mike, and I, we've created like an album that I think stands up with anything else I've been a part of in my life, And it's not that I'm not proud of anything we've done before. Our Machine is an amazing record, and everybody that was involved in that made it amazing. It's just a different monster. It's just a different beast. It was, like I said, it was a lone venture with the first album, Nostalgia in Stereo, except for Rory playing drums. Then Tyler comes in, and now it's like a full band. So, yeah.
All right.
That record should be out in the end of May. I
Okay.
hope. Yeah, man.
Wow, that soon.
Yeah, well, look, this is the thing, and Claudio is going to probably be like, working like a maniac in so many ways, which is good for Coheed stuff. And but what happens when I think, and I don't think we've talked about this yet, but I had a baby. My wife and I had a baby.
As you said, newborn baby world.
Yeah, newborn baby world. And when that happens, the anticipation and some worry, you feel like you're going to lose your time. You feel like, so before the baby was born, I'd say, once Coheed got home from touring, maybe, we got home like early December, and then we did some Davenport shows. We went out and did some shows around, but, basically was home the majority of the time, just basically twiddling my thumbs, waiting for this little guy to come along. And, it just made me want to work endlessly on music. And I kind of just dragged the other Davenport guys in with it, and they were on board. Like I said, they all started throwing ideas around, and and Tyler had all these kind of like riff ideas and vocal melodies and stuff, and it was just started to become something really cool. So once I started to see something happening, I was like, let's go full throttle.
Yeah.
And we went full throttle, and now we have like, I think it's 10 full songs. Some of them just need Tyler's vocals, but I did all my vocals. And when I say, like, it was no rush job, like, it was a lot of work put into it. And so like I said about Claudio, he's going to be going through that. And I think that everybody who becomes a parent goes through that. You're just like, some people go through it and they probably just want to go out and party like crazy, or they want to, maybe if I was,
I guess this is like maybe your downtime right now for Coheed and Cambria,
basically.
Right? Okay.
So if it was 4 or 5 years ago and I was about to have a baby, maybe I would have been like, I got to go, out every night or this and that.
Yeah.
But instead, I just chose to stay home and work all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what this record.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what this record will be, and I think that's goes for anything musically with the rest of the guys too in Coheed or Davenport. It's like if they have time, they love working. Josh has Weird Science. Zach has a bunch of different projects that he's involved in. So it's like and Claudio. I mean, I think that obviously there's things I can't speak of from Coheed world, but he's keeping busy. And just like. In and out of Coheed world, he's always busy, whether it's comic books or, he's got some really cool things in the work. It's something called Translucid that he's going to be releasing. And, so he and his wife both are always really busy. And I'm sure they'll be much more busy, like I said, with, the heat is on with the baby coming. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I could speak from the other side now. I mean, I'm still like finishing touches on stuff, and I can't wait till Coheed works on new stuff, and I'll put every minute I can in between diapers into whatever is going on. I'll go out and do shows in between, I mean, once my wife's settled, like, we're going to go out and do Davenport shows this spring and summer. And when the Coheed beast is ready to roll again, I'm always here,
Yeah.
And also I'm here working at the shop. So I'm just keeping busy,
Mm-hmm. Therapeutic.
I talk too much.
No, it's cool, dude. I just watched Meet the Musicians or whatever that Apple did, and you didn't talk at all.
Well, yeah, I mean that's tough too.
So this is good. This is like
that's what happens because
people
when
can
you
listen
got
to them
four
at the
dudes,
same time, and then they get
you got four dudes. I'm not gonna like. It's like it gets tough with interviews. I'm more comfortable with just talking to somebody one on, especially being in this. This is like my domain.
Of course,
it's like you came into my cave. It'd be the same at my house. Like. We got four dudes, specifically when it's like Coheed and, like people are going to want to pick at Claudio's brain as to where some of those lyrics and storylines are coming from. And it's completely understandable. I mean, what am I going to be like? No, wait, I got something to add, no, shut the fuck up and just sit there. That's what I'm supposed to do. Unless I'm asked. Don't speak unless you're asked, But I couldn't be happier with everything going on around me. It's pretty exciting, and like I said, with the Coheed world, everybody's always working, who knows what'll be next. But I'm excited for every venture, specifically excited that I got that espresso machine handled here.
Yeah. A lot of that. I can't say espresso. Yeah.
Espresso.
I keep saying espresso.
Yeah, I've said that. I used to say that too, but I have to say it right here.
I just got corrected recently, and I'm like,
I have to say it right here. I mean, I remember when they were open around the corner. They were on First here in Warwick, and being on Railroad now and having this huge spot, you got to step up the game, man. Because I was over in the smaller when they had a smaller spot right around the corner, and I remember somebody would come in and ask, what is it, a chocolate ganache? They had a chocolate ganache, and people would ask what it is, and I'd say, "Oh, that's chocolate goulash." So, and I remember my wife heard it. She's like, "What are you telling people all day? It's goulash? That's a stew." And I'm just like, "Oh, got to shape up on it." So I got notes all over this shop, and I'm trying to get it all handled. I'm trying to help as much as possible. So, yeah, man.
So I've got a question from Rob Guzio, my friend.
Cool.
I've reached out to some, some
no
people
problem,
who like listening to your music.
Shoot.
And he said, ask him why he changed up his style of lead guitar. He was into more classic riffing and intricate little coloring, but now he's adding a lot of noise, distortion, and effects to pad Claudio's riffs. What do you feel about that?
I don't know. I think that's that's not totally true for everything.
Oh, okay.
First off, but I mean, Rob, I'm not trying to there's not a heated dispute that's going to happen here. But
do you feel like maybe you evolved over time?
I think it's evolved, and it's kind of like Coheed's a rolling ball of like different styles.
I mean, you obviously have changed sound over time. You know, it's a big
I mean, you
difference
take
from
an
the
album
first
like Year of the
record.
Black Rainbow. Like there was a lot more experimenting with like sounds and effects, and and just like I said before, like spontaneous, like let's plug in, see what sound we get, and see what happens here.
Yeah.
And I loved that aspect of that record, and a lot of really cool things came about. So that became part of the Coheed rolling ball, and that definitely found its way into a lot of sounds in Afterman. Claudio is in love with that aspect of guitars and writing. Kind of like throw on a little gadget and just see if a doot happens, and holy shit, maybe this can become a song, And I know that aspect fell into Afterman in certain ways, and some amazing riffs and songs came out of it in that sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can understand Rob thinking that that became a majority of the sound, but it didn't really. I mean, Afterman is a very vast, dense, body of work. There's a lot of different music going on it, and you could find probably 3 or 4 songs to match that have that classic rock feel still.
Yeah.
To match that, gadgets and distorted, crazy feedback sound. It's all there. I mean, maybe he means like in a sense of mixing too, like what's louder in the mix and stuff. And, that's just all a vibe that happens once the album's done and everybody's sitting there and they're like, this should be up there and this should be down, specifically what Claudio's feeling and how he wants it to be presented, in the in the kind of lineup conceptually of what's happening with the record. I'm there and I play these guitars and I come up with ideas, and if everybody's digging them, let's get a sound for them. And sometimes that sound is a kooky, like, machine gun sounding thing. And sometimes, Claudio's guitar is going to sound like that too. And if it sounds good and we're excited about it, that's what it's going to be. So, Rob, I hope I answered your question. I'm sure that as Coheed progresses, like I said, it's a rolling ball of sounds. I'm sure that you'll get the sounds that you enjoy still out of the music, and there'll probably be some kooky sounds too, because that's just become a part of the band.
I definitely feel like the last, it's like a double album, right? But it's one big album kind of.
It's one big album. It was like kind of I think that the way, because really Claudio's decision, he was excited to split them up as kind of like a sonic cliffhanger that would feed into the story, or the story would be fed by that, however you want to look at it. So it kind of like gave it that break. People sit with the anticipation of what's going to happen, and they sat with the anticipation of what was going to happen musically.
I feel like it definitely. You guys came back over here to record it, right?
Yeah, we worked at Applehead, which is the studio that we had mixed second stage and fully recorded and and everything, done everything at it was fully recorded and mixed in keeping there too, and then
and it almost has that feel to it. It's like bringing it back home kind of sound,
Absolutely. I mean, everything goes through a different world once it's mixed too. I mean, Good Apollo 1 was recorded in Applehead, but it was mixed by Dave Botchell. So it becomes something different. It's the same thing as if, like if Claudio has this full song and then however Josh plays the drums or however, I'm going to add guitars, it's going to change it that bit that turns it into something different. Yeah. The mix does the same thing. I mean, it's like all these things are there, and how are they going to stick out? Now, me personally, I'm terrible at mixing, like I have all these things at home that I've worked on, specifically the new Davenport record, and I'll send it to the other guys and be like, here's the song. Oh, I think that the guitar needs to be tucked here and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're going to get somebody else to do that shit, because you don't expect me to hear that stuff because I'm terrible with it, but I mean, that's what happens. I mean, Rob over there is asking about, those sounds and stuff. Well, sometimes those sounds stick out more because everybody agreed, that they're more. They make the music more dramatic. They add a special thing to it that a little classic rock, won't.
Yeah.
So, believe me, I'm in love with that and all that kind of stuff too. That's not going anywhere. And on this Davenport record, there's a whole heap load of that classic rock and just those guitar textures and stuff like that. And I'm sure in Coheed, a lot of that stuff Claudio loves doing too. And he's, you know what I mean? There's been many songs throughout the years where, he would have like these lead ideas and just teach them to me. And you know what I mean? And if they're awesome, they're awesome. And that's what they stay. I won't change what's already great, So, and I can tell you flat out from being there that sometimes those ideas are exactly what Rob are talking about. It's not like Claude's saying, "Oh, don't have any of that kind of guitar playing. I want just noise."
Yeah.
No, he loves that kind of stuff too. It just depends on what the song's calling for, I guess. But hopefully, I answered that in a very long-winded sense.
And as I was saying, bringing it back home, I just want to talk about really quick, second stage. Turbine Blade and stuff like that.
Okay.
And how much that album meant to me, growing up.
That's cool. You never know which album means what to
I'm
who.
25 years old, so I don't know. I didn't. My dad, his music that he listened to didn't really influence me that much. I think more pop music did on the radio.
Okay.
And then I got into of course that. I found out about you guys through a message board called "This Is Not Emo." I don't know if you remember that.
No, I don't.
It was a message board, and people would just post bands on there.
The eternal battle. This is not emo. That's so funny. So what was it, a blog where people would say everybody calls this emo and it's not?
No. Everything was emo on there. That was the thing. So, and you guys were lumped into that category.
We were
right?
lumped in.
Which I think helped you in a sense, but then also you guys kind of grew out of it and, and took on where you're on the cover of a Guitar World or something,
Absolutely.
And, you wouldn't see the guitarist from Thursday on there, but you guys would
we toured with Thursday a lot. They were very kind to us and they were an incredible band,
and I actually was at the show, Roseland Ballroom, and you guys were the opening act.
Okay.
That was it, man.
The guitar players of Thursday were, they were doing their thing, and they deserved to be known for. Steve and Tom, they were, two incredible guys, and they were great guitar players. And
I was just using a
no, I get it.
You know what I mean?
I guess what I'm trying to go with it, John, is that people say, well, you were clumped, lumped, blumped, whatever. You were in that, and it wasn't. The thing for us is it's never been, God damn it, why are we just clumped in, with these bands? We toured with some of those bands. They were incredible bands, and they were. They should be still out there pumping out music, but I did, and we did always feel like we stood apart because we just did, we were just a different band. It was always hard it's funny, they clumped us in with those bands, but then they had a hard time even putting us in with those bands half the time because a lot of their fans would just be like, what is this band playing right now? This is not what we came to hear. We didn't come to hear this classic rock shit. We didn't come to hear, these Gidgets and Gadgets going nuts. So it's I think because Coheed does love to stretch out all over the place, a lot of people in the said industry or whatever have had a tough time, putting us in a category.
Yeah,
and that,
for example,
that
when
goes
you guys
for the fans,
with Slipknot, I guess.
Yeah, and people what the hell are you doing?
Why are they on tour with Slipknot? Yeah, that kind of deal.
What the hell are you doing? And it was our way. And by the way, those guys were awesome to us.
I'm sure.
They were really. It was a really cool, intriguing thing to watch them do their thing. It's like the new era of Kiss, with a completely crazy way of doing it. And I wouldn't change anything that we did that. I think that it was a really good move for us because it was our way of saying, we faced a lot of crowds that wanted to kill us for being on that stage, and we did it. And the same thing goes for going out with Maiden, one of our favorite bands growing up. There was a lot of classic rock dudes that were like, why on earth would Maiden take them out? Well, we did fit. And a majority of those people, they chose us to be their pretzel and beer, go get pretzel and beer music. But when they came back and they sat in those seats, I watched people say, You know, that's the problem with music. A lot of people just cancel it out before they even fucking try. You know, and it's like, I guess I've done that. I've been guilty of that too. I try not to do that anymore in my life. You know, you know who's really good at not doing that? It's the drummer of Coheed, Josh.
Okay.
Josh Eppert. He's really good. You know, he's put me in my place a lot of times for being like that kind of hater kind of thing. You know, I get on people, the hipsters and blah, blah, blah. They're haters. They hate everything. Yeah. But you know what? I've done it in my own sense. So, you know, shame on me. I don't, you know, I'm no better than anybody else. But I guess what it's about is like having people try and not be, you know, presumptuous assholes, the best way to put it, or just like, you know, just trying to make it so they're more open-minded, you know, which is a tough thing. You take, 8,000 people in an arena kind of thing, and you want them all to be open-minded? You tell me how to do it, and I'll tell the rest of the band, and next time we get an opening slot like that, we'll do it. I mean, the only thing that I could ever come up with is just, and we tried it on... we did it on that Uproar tour, and it worked to a degree, but, I mean, just having something that's really loud right at the beginning, so it gets people like, woo! You know, like, everybody come on in, something's happening. Because, you know, if you're an opener and you're on one of those big shows, a majority of the people are like, they're going to tailgate until the band they love starts, you know? And that's just the name of the game. That's what you're dealing with. But, I mean, shit, man, we've gotten to tour with some of the most incredible bands, you know, that any band could. I mean, of course, there'll always be a longer list that everybody will love to be able to play with, but Coheed has been extra lucky in that sense. And we've been taken out by some bands, like you mentioned Thursday and stuff like that. Taken out by some bands in our early days, Hot Water Music, just bands that they're up to the same level in our minds, you know. Sure, Iron Maiden's filling a fucking, you know, PNC bank, you know, or whatever, and you know, Hot Waters is just a little different of a level in people's minds, but it's not a different level. It's just as important, you know.
Because I feel like it had so much influence on people, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I feel like, you know, that was a big... I'm that generation, you know.
Totally, and I'm part of that too. We're all part of that. We're all part of that whole thing, you know. A little bit of all of it's mixed in everyone that I surround myself. Everyone's blood has a little bit of that, you know. Everything.
It was you guys Thursday and Thrice too.
Thrice, incredible dudes, incredible bands, you know.
Very underrated, right?
Hey, there was a time period where, you know, I remember we were on Warped Tour with them, and they were pretty huge at that time, man. And they stayed steady like that. They just made great music, and that's what matters, you know. They just made great fucking music, and you know, I think sometimes they just got clumped into the whole, you know, thing that people kind of turn off. I remember some of my friends that I guess, you know, you could call them the more, not hipster, but yeah, you could. I'm not calling anybody out, but, you know, hipster hating kind of dudes. And I remember Thrice had that, it was the Artist in the Ambulance record. And I remember they had a video for a song and I remember a couple of people just being, you know what, I kind of do like that. You know, like, you know, it's still like that emo kind of blah, blah, but it's, at least it's good, blah, blah, blah.
I have a friend who's like that. He hates like anything. Like you show him like a dashboard or something like that, and he's like, you know, oh, that was terrible. And then we'd put on Thrice, and he'd be like, yeah, okay, turn it up. You know?
Yeah, I mean, and then it's like they almost feel deceived.
Exactly.
That they got caught into that, you know. And it's like, but we did that to ourselves, you know. As listeners and as people, everybody does that to themselves, you know, the cool labels, you know, like back in the day you had your Jade Tree and that was like the original kind of like hipster thing. If it was on Jade Tree, if it was like, you know, I mean, I was just as big of a fan of like, you know, Joan of Arc and all the things the Kinsella brothers done and stuff like that. But it was so funny that like, you know, you could take another band from that time period and they would be just as good and very similar music, but you know, no, that's just bullshit, you know, like you know, second-rate emo bullshit. But okay, but Joan of Arc and all them are geniuses, but these people are just pieces of shit. Well, no, that's not the truth. I would always argue that it's like that's not what it is more like you're a scenester. And you don't want it. You're saying you're the anti-scenester, but no, you're into a scene of like there's certain bands like, you know, everything everything that's on like drive-through records is complete crap and bullshit, but you know, anything that's on J-Tree is genius. Or that's the back then. I remember that, you know what I mean? And sure, there was a lot of crap. I'm sure, you know, I believe me, I listened to a lot of crap. I loved a lot of crap, and I wouldn't change that either. So, you know, but it's always been the contradictory way of music listeners. And it was the same way with hardcore and metal in the early days, and, you know, and all the categories that came out of that music, you know, whether it be death metal or anything, you know, people just can be so mean about what they like. Yeah. They're just downright mean. Yeah. Bullyish.
Yeah. And I don't think internet was that big either back then. So it wasn't like you had access to like...
Yeah, no, I mean, the internet like, brought a whole new thing. Yeah. And when I'm talking about the people that started to become really like full-on haters of only certain labels and certain bands, that was when the internet was starting. Yeah. Yeah, that was like when it was like, you know...
You still had to go out and buy their CDs.
You went out and bought their CDs, or you came and you burned it at your friends, or Napster had just come around, you know? Yeah. And that was when Napster first came around, and a lot of those bands were doing like... cool little cover things that you could only really find online, but in actuality they had released them on 7 inches and stuff like that, and if you were into it enough you were able to find that stuff, you know. But and I had friends that were so, you know, I had one friend in particular, both Claudio and I had a friend who, you know, he turned us on to, our friend Pat Sayers, he turned us on to a lot of really amazing music when we were younger, and he would always be on top of, you know, finding. And he still is to this day. I mean, he's not, you know, he's older and, you know, career and, you know, out of college and stuff like that. But he's still, you know, the guy that has his finger on the pulse, whether he likes it or not, a lot of the time. And he'll tell you what he hates and what he likes really easily. Yeah. And that's what we love about him. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's been a lot of people like that in my life. And like I said, my stepbrothers and just, you know, my family in general, I've been able to find out about a lot of really cool stuff through that. So I'd like to think, even though I still have work to do, that I've been one of those people that's more open to things, you know, as opposed to just canceling it out, being closed-minded. Yeah. Yeah, man.
So I also saw you guys at the NAMM show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which one? We did it twice.
Yeah. Like at Taylor? Mm-hmm. I think I was at both.
We did Taylor twice.
Yeah,
we did Taylor that was just Claudio and I, and we did a Taylor that was actually.
It was like a full band. That's the one I was at.
Yeah, that was when Chris Penny was still playing with us, and we had and Mike was playing bass, and that was amazing. Yeah, we did that song, Iron Fist. I mentioned that song
videoed
before.
That. I think I put it online.
And we did a version of that song, Juggernaut. That Claudio had put together like an acoustic version, and we all played together on that, and. Yeah, man. That was a cool thing. Mm-hmm. It's always cool working with...
I saw Jason Mraz. I went this year. I was at NAMM. And I saw Jason Mraz.
I wish I could have, but a baby was being born at the same time that was going on.
That's not good, yeah.
No, yeah. Wouldn't have gone over well. But every time we go there, I have a blast. Overwhelming, but I have a blast.
It's so overwhelming, right?
Well, it's the same place that they hold the Comic-Con out there, and Claudio is always doing the Comic-Con. So every time I've been able to come to the Comic-Con, sometimes we've gotten band things involved, you know, in the Comic-Con. This past year in New York, I got to go do a little signing with them and hang out at the Comic-Con, and he and Chandra just are so involved in that world that I get to kind of ride on their coattails and go there. And my wife came with me to the New York one, and we just enjoy being able to walk around at that. But needless to say, the one in San Diego, obviously being the biggest one, you know, it's the same thing. It's like, I think the Comic-Con is just crazier, but still, NAMM is like, you know, you're in the middle of just all these people just like going from booth to booth and going crazy, you know, like, and I mean, that's the best part. It's like, all right, well, here you go. You play in a popular band. You play guitar. Take this guitar and use these, you know, these effects and see what you think of this amp and just do a demo for people. And it's just like right next to you just hear somebody going off like Yngwie. Like, I'm like, I ain't picking that guitar up. You're not going to get me to stand here with my thumb up my ass.
Is it cool, like, meeting fans and stuff like that? I'm sure you did. Like, did you do any signings and stuff?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, we met a lot of through NAMM. You mean at that thing? Yeah, like a lot of people came in. You know, that was the cool thing is I think that it was helpful to Taylor because we brought a lot of people that were fans of Coheed in, and then they're, you know, fallen in love with a lot of their guitars and their product. which that's all we use. I mean, in Davenport recording this album, I mean, you know, Tyler and I are just using Taylor's for all the acoustic stuff, and they actually just released a hollow body, a semi-hollow body guitar Taylor that I'd really love to try out. So maybe that's a little plug right there.
There you go, Taylor. Boys. Are you listening?
But
definitely
yeah,
really cool. Like the sound there is just—it's so cool. They don't take advantage of it. Like I don't think they realize how great those shows are in that room.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah, it sounded awesome.
Yeah, it really did.
Perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, what else was I gonna say? I have like a bunch of like just like tidbit things. I don't know. Yeah. So we talked about the baby. That's exciting.
Baby. Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, it's like my new favorite pastime is just staring at him, and the concentration is only broken by a dirty dighty. And then I will take care of that and then just go back to staring at him. I got this nasty cold the past couple of days, so I was just wearing one of those face masks every time I'm changing his diaper or something because I didn't want to get him sick. But, you know, what a pain in the ass. I just want to get rid of the cold and be able to be back to, like, kissing him all over his little face and hanging out with him because he's awesome. But, you know, he's also breastfeeding every 2 hours, you know, so he's, like, just... My wife is my hero right now. She's just been taking care of business at the house. That's why I'm here at the shop trying to help out in every way I can. You know? So
that's sick, man.
Yeah, man.
And like, you're like a really cool guy. I just want to say that. Like, and I look online, and it's like, you know, you came here, you sat down with me to do this, and you know, we spent like a lot of time doing this now, and yeah, it's really cool.
Thanks, man.
I'm trying not to like.
What were you gonna say? Do you look online and you see bad things?
No, I saw you. No, I saw you, like jamming with kids playing Welcome Home at School.
Oh
of
yeah,
Rock.
that's the School of Rock, man.
I'm like, holy shit!
I'm
dude.
looking to do a few things.
That's amazing.
There's a school up here actually called, you know, the Pine Island School of Music.
Okay.
Or no, it's the Warwick School of Music, but it's in Pine Island. I'm sorry, but I've been in there meeting the guy who owns it, Mike. Is a really cool guy, and I've been in there and I met some of the teachers and students, and it's a really cool place, and I hope to get involved with them somehow there too. Like I just really love that aspect of it, like turning on the kids to some of the things like I was as a kid, you know, to some of the different things that exist in music and songwriting that, you know, a lot of people aren't what's the right word? They're not subjected to. Subjected is not the right word I was looking for, but that they're not subjected to at a young age automatically. That it's not as, you know, as easy for them to find knowledge, especially the knowledge that I got to have, because there's the knowledge of reading and writing music in the scholarly way, which is very important. But there's also, like, you know, just learning it through your, you know, your own love and exactly what you hear and feel from music, you know. And just
kids have it right now, dude. Like it's like YouTube and stuff like that. You can go online and see some guy playing it. I used to have to like stare at the tabs and be like, what did this guy, that doesn't make sense,
I know,
you know?
I know.
And then,
every time I want to cover something, if I need to find out like what the guitar chords or this and that, it's just so easy.
Yeah.
I'm just like, God, these lucky people now.
Even like video stuff, and like I just plug in a card and I drag the stuff over.
Yeah.
You used to have to like import it real time. Like
it's amazing, man. It really is. I mean, there's just so many advantages to it, but there's some disadvantages. It's tough for musicians and stuff. You just got to adapt, I guess. But it's tough. Like, you know, everything's there. You don't really need us for too much. I mean, eventually, you know, back in the kings and queens days, like, you know, in the castles, the musicians were put in this little corner up above the king's what would you call it? What was his like hangout room where they would have everybody come in and hang out, and the jester would dance in
I'm sure
front of
somebody who watches like Game of Thrones right now.
Well, totally. And I watch Game of Thrones. I'm just yet again another brain fart. But what they would do with the musicians is they just put them up in a tiny little corner.
Okay.
I remember I was in Ireland, and I went and did like a tour of the castles, and one of the castles specifically they centered in on where they put the musicians, and it was this tiny little dingy little like, you know, corner of the room, and the staircase, like you had to be like 110 pounds that rail thin to get up there. You might be able to get up there, but you had to be nice, and then you'd have to bend down there. You're a tall guy, so you would have to like basically crawl up there. But and they had to sleep on like a little hay stack. So they may be pushing musicians back to that world. I don't know. We might have to be playing in tiny corners and sleeping on haystacks eventually. But hey, I'll do it. You know, we love it enough that I don't think it's possible to stop. We just love playing music. So if I can help kids get involved in it and hang out with them while I'm doing it, you know, I don't want to force my son when he's old enough, but I'm sure that it's going to be like tough for him to get around it.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably going to be subjected to some. He already has. I mean, I was playing Octopus's Garden to his belly and, you know, all the songs that we would choose to, you know, hopefully get him stoked when we listen to him on a car ride or something. So, you know, I'm totally into that too. I've spoken to somebody about like music child development.
Okay.
You know, even from the womb. And so we tried that. You know, I know that a lot of people do that. I've spoken to Claudio, and he's like reading books and poetry to Chandra's, you know, his wife's belly and playing music. And so we're all trying that kind of deal.
Sick, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome,
John. Thank you.
Thank you, dude. And I really like I don't know. Everyone's like, yo, make sure you don't fanboy out, you know? And I don't think I did.
No,
right?
you didn't.
Okay, good.
Not
but
at all.
no, really, like your band was like a huge influence on me. And yeah, like I don't know, like some songs have given me goosebumps before.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
You know, and even though it's like a story, it's not some like dude singing about, you know, like a life problem. I can't like relate to it.
They're
that way.
there too.
Yeah, it's
That's
there.
what he's
It
writing
is there.
about. He's writing about his life.
Yeah.
You know?
But definitely there was like a lot of connections to those songs and stuff. And, you know, the first 3 albums and everything like that were just a huge part of my growing up.
Me too.
You know, and driven me to, you know, playing guitar and
That's
and
awesome.
being in bands and stuff. And, you know,
That's awesome, man.
probably somehow influenced, you know, doing what I do now. So
Cool.
thank you, man.
Well, thank you. It's awesome.
And the walls kept tumbling down in the city that we love. Gray clouds roll over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes,
To be honest, I held a lot back. Well, maybe not held a lot back, but I mean, definitely I left that interview going like, damn, I wish I asked him about this or that, you know. Anyway, it was a really amazing opportunity. Like I said, sometimes I ask myself, why do I keep doing this podcast? Episodes like this, moments like this are the reason why I keep wanting to do it. Because like really, most of the time it's not even an interview. It's like, you know, it's like me hanging out with somebody that I would have never, you know, gotten the opportunity to hang out with. All right, guys, so we don't have any sponsors today. Well, all right, so I guess we do. We sort of have a sponsor, Eat Sweet Bakery. So next time you're in Warwick, New York, stop by Eat Sweet Bakery. Yes, I did have something from there, and it was incredible. And I'm not just saying that. It was like the bottom of it was like some sort of pastry, and then there was caramel, and then a layer of chocolate, and then it was topped with salt. I mean, what's with salt and chocolate? It goes together really well, but this just started happening, I think. And now that's like the big thing, like salted caramel with chocolate. Like 7 years ago when pomegranate got big. Like pomegranate always existed, but then we never thought about using it as a flavoring. Anyway, all right, I'm going to go. This is a song from Travis Stever's side project. The name of the band is Davenport Cabinet, and the song is called Simple Worlds. I like it. It vibes. I played it for Eric Martens last night. He said, oh, it reminds me of a summer song. It doesn't really remind me of a summer song, but I think you're going to enjoy it. So check it out. And take care, guys. All right, bye.
I'm at a loss for words, but I believe we're innocent. And I'm assuming you've got better things to say. And all the places that you've seen are irrelevant, 'cause we're one and the same when it all fades away. We try and bend the crooked ground that holds solution. Because simple worlds come undone. Because simple worlds come undone.
You got a lot to learn, and I can see your innocence in the tiny lines that decorate your face. We're always searching for those days we remember as the present tense tends to slip away.
We try and bend the crooked ground that holds our bodies down. The simple way that lies ahead just seems a bit uneven, and the sounds you hear beneath it all to keep your head above the falling sand, getting louder. I wonder where it comes from. Could it be illusion? Because simple worlds come undone. Because